They're desperate because they know that for millions and millions of kids now, their first encounter with trans people will be epic YouTube man mrbeast defending his friend Chris against a bunch of demons and haters online. And that will, at least for a lot of those young people, permanently wall them off from anti-trans politics. All right, you've probably heard, unless you're, I don't even know what you would have to be to have not heard of this. Not even like if you're offline. I feel like maybe if you've been living under a rock or you've been, um, I don't know, taken hostage by ISIS and you're only just now returning to civilization. mrbeast, he's a guy on YouTube. I've never watched any of his videos. I am, however, on record as being the world's biggest mrbeast fan. There's even a video about it. Hold on. Yep, there it is. I am now mrbeast's biggest fan. See? Not clickbait, it says. And but you don't have to be mrbeast's biggest fan to have heard of this latest news. A person who often appears in his videos, Chris, is a transgender, which has led to an enormous amount of controversy amidst idiots and generally bad people. So, sparing you the details, okay, mrbeast is a huge channel, which means that any existence of trans people on that channel is going to immediately become a subject of public discourse, and conservatives are not going to let a subject like that fly. Now, I've talked a lot about how I feel conservatives are really overplaying their hand lately with the culture war stuff. They're acting as though they have more public support than they do, and this is such a perfect example of that. I can't tell you how happy I am with how things are playing out. That's the central thesis of this, by the way. The overplaying, it's so evident here. You'll see. So, this fine individual, okay? Chris, any all pronouns, whatever. Someone asks, "Hey, why do you look like homosexual?" Right? And Chris comes out with the big news. "I am a transgender." That's great. Look at her go. Wow. Water and everything. Fantastic. And immediately, this led to a huge swell of people basically trying to tear down and cancel Chris. You've probably seen, and I could trowel through these if I want, but I don't really care to. Chris made like edgy comments back in 2016, like "I'm an attack helicopter," whatever, or like edgy joke. Basically, like all of the people who, under any other circumstances, would be anti-cancel culture immediately leapt on every possible opportunity to go, some ally, this person, and then it's like a video from 8 years ago of them being problematic or whatever. Obviously, people are desperate. The conservatives immediately understand. This is a juncture point. This is a pivotal intersection, okay? The representation of a transgender person in mrbeast's content is too big of a threat for them to ignore. I mean, think about it. Have you ever seen how many views a mrbeast video gets? I haven't, because I've never watched one. Let's find out together. 155 million, or 145 million subscribers. Jesus Christ. Yeah, look. 100 million, 100 million, 100 million, 100 million. A lot of views, as it turns out. Chris is featured in a good number of mrbeast's videos. And what's more, mrbeast is really popular with young people, especially. I mean, we're talking tens of millions of people are... not only do they watch his videos, they're like active fans of his content. Young people as well. The positive representation of a transgender person in a mrbeast video unironically delivers more cultural weight than trans inclusion in like a mainstream Netflix or HBO series. Isn't that insane? I mean that too. You think like, oh, well, there's a trans character repped in The Last of a Game of Thrones, whatever, some big, huge TV show. Not even close to a mrbeast video. I know it sounds wild, but that actually is true. Um, it's incomparable. Yeah. To give it a good comparison, a John Oliver segment will get 3 or 4 million views. 1/20th or 1/30th of what a Mr. Beast video will. The degree of cultural relevance is it's so beyond what I think a lot of people understand. And conservatives obviously realized that this can't stand. This is way too much trans visibility, especially to young people. Because the way you get, especially young people, to be anti-trans is you make sure they never actually talk to one. That's the trick to a lot of bigotry. Represent the minority group that you want people to hate as this distant other, you can, however you want to put them, they're cringe, they're destructive, they're selfish, they're delusional, whatever. But you have to represent them as a block, as a monolithic group, and they have to be kept at a distance. Never allow the people you're trying to groom into bigotry to have a human interaction with a member of those groups. Make sure there's a veil between them and the minority group. A veil which is destroyed through something as simple as a transgender person just casually hanging out in a Mr. Beast video. The reason I'm prepping you all for this, of course, is because, there was a huge reactionary backlash. Obviously, people like Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, they denounced Mr. Beast, whatever. They're drops in an ocean compared to the audience of Mr. Beast. Maybe the most attention a bit of backlash has gotten is from Sunny V2. Sunny V2 has been a piece of shit for a while. If you have a good ear and you watch Sunny V2's videos, it's pretty obvious that they're pretty far right, and they make an effort to kind of polish it over with drama bait, but it's there. Like, it came out with a video, "Why Chris Will Soon Be a Nightmare for Mr. Beast." Now, this video has gotten a ton of backlash. I mean, a 50-50 like-dislike ratio is pretty unusual for a video like this. And it's gotten a ton of, well, most notably from Mr. Beast himself, right? This new Sunny V2 video feels really invasive for all the wrong reasons. Like, why'd you make this? You delved into the man's marriage and shit. It's just really off-putting and unnecessary. And Mr. Beast said, now to 357,000 likes, "Yeah, this is getting absurd. Chris isn't my nightmare. He's my friend and things are fine. All this transphobia is starting to piss me off." Going Super Saiyan. XQC called out Sunny as well. Basically, every large figure that I've seen has, because this video is, like, really weird. We'll watch a bit of it, but it's basically like the thing that people like Sunny V2 want to do, the thing that conservatives want to do, is they want to call Chris, that's the person on the right, a degenerate. They want to say that Chris is disgusting, horrible, ugly, cringe, delusional, blah blah. They want to, all the invectives they want to weigh against them are these highly essentialist ones, right? But they can't just go up and say that, because what they understand, the audience that they're dealing with here is like a swarm of millions and millions and millions of little Mr. Beast fans, right? If you come at it in such an essentialist fashion, they're not going to bite, So what they instead do is they concern troll. And you can see, we'll see a bit of it. There's not really an argument to debunk here. It's mostly just delusional, invasive drama bait bullshit, but
could become a complete disaster for Mr. Beast brand. However, it may also provide some unique benefits. So let's begin by going over the drama before explaining exactly how this will impact the Mr. Beast channel. In mid-2022, fans began to notice that Chris Tyson was changing. In the early days, he represented the quintessential southern gun and truck loving dude. Yet beginning in March 2022, Chris began to display increasingly feminine traits, making tweets such as, "I finally got my nails done at a nail tech." Additionally, Chris would highlight that his facial appearance had changed significantly since the start of the pandemic, which
very, very subtle, by the way. I can't believe the drama took this long to, like, break out when this is, you know what I mean? Like, very, very subtle in the lead up.
significantly since the start of the pandemic, which accompanied another post reading, "Okay, so in 4 different customs I had to prove I was myself because I quote look nothing like my passport pic, so much that I'm considering updating my passport. Do you see any resemblance?" Prompting replies such as, "You went from man to boy." Chris responded by stating, "Nah, to be honest, I just really started taking my mental health seriously and eating better," yet his Twitter photos kept insinuating that Chris was becoming more feminine, with this same kind of look showing up in his MrBeast appearances. For example, on the 6th of January 2023, Beast Reacts uploaded a video titled "I strapped a GoPro to a fish," in which Chris dressed in a way that prompted comments such as, "Chris has been adopting more and more traits that remind me of my grandmother." Okay, so some people just gonna ignore Chris.
The music is, this is normally how Sunny V2's videos are. Sunny V2's channel is mostly about like covering YouTube drama. It's like, it's trash content. It's a drama channel, but it's usually done in a way. I mean, you can watch the videos yourself. I'm not talking about Sunny V2 here broadly, but all of this is going to be led up the same. Like the tone and the delivery of the video is structured the same way that the lead up to a YouTuber being exposed for grooming would be. Like the way this video is structured, it evokes the same attitude as some like Smash Pro player. Yeah, in the lead up to that. When in reality, the drama here is literally just Chris is trans and everyone else is freaking out about it. That's it. In fact, we can skip to the part where we do the more invasive shit. Hold on.
For approximately 2 months, which according to a quick Google search is the medical process for changing genders. Chris would expand on this by stating, "Informed consent HRT saved my and many others' lives. The hurdles GNC people have to jump through to get life-saving gender-affirming healthcare in a first world country is wild to me. Just let people make informed decisions about their own bodies," which received a positive response from both Carl and MrBeast, who wrote, "Got you, I did one more heart than Carl because I'm a better friend." While his co-workers expressed positivity, others weren't so welcoming. There goes a father figure the kid won't ever be able to look up to. Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Weak man times. Chris responded to this comment by stating, "This is just more dog whistling that somehow trans and GNC folks aren't safe around kids. Tucker begs for me to come back when I leave for like 2 days to film. He is so loved and happy. Kids aren't born with hate, it's taught by people like you, and my child will only know love."
Remember how I talked before about right-wingers overextending? This probably sounds, especially for me, this probably sounds like super naive, really like, I don't know, really anime brained, but I genuinely do think there is like an underlying and resounding power of love here that conservatives are incapable of matching. See, to your regular average onlooker, are there a lot of young white boys who get pulled into like edgy reactionary politics? Sure, but I don't think they're bad people fundamentally. I think on average people like good experiences and dislike bad experiences. I think people recognize good behavior and recognize bad behavior, and for the most part, people have an almost intuitive understanding of the difference between the two. Not always and not perfectly, but it's there, and it's worth, respecting to an extent. And we have a situation here where MrBeast, ungodly popular YouTuber, and the people around him are just acting normal. And that's the thing, right? Like, all MrBeast have to do is like smile and go, yeah, we're just doing what makes us happy. Yeah, I support my friends. Woo. And meanwhile, on the outside, it's all of the freaks and demons and losers who are screeching with their teeth clenched, no, you can't. I claim to be anti-cancel culture for my entire life, but now I'm going to bring up clips from 2016 to prove that you're somehow a grifter. And they're freaks, and they come off as freaks. And this is why conservatives initially framed their anti-trans advocacy as a kind of like anti-delusion kindness, right? Like initially, 5 years ago, the anti-trans movement was conservatives like Ben Shapiro saying stuff like, biologically, a male can't become a female, and I just don't think it's appropriate to give people the impression they can, because that's delusional and that's hurtful, And nowadays, the conservative movement with regards to anti-trans stuff is mostly like Matt Walsh. They're disgusting, they're evil, they're groomers, that kind of thing, right? They've shifted. There's no longer that fake paternalizing kindness, which, again, it was always fake, but they did it for a reason. It was optically effective to not come off like a demonic freak. Because your average... Okay, let me put it this way. If you went up to your average American and you said, would you agree with this statement? Biologically, a male cannot become a female. Most Americans would agree with that. A lot of those Americans would still be pro-trans. You know, the average person doesn't have a super consistent, well-formed political view. Maybe a lot of them would think, okay, maybe a biological male can't become a female, but like a man can become a woman. Or maybe they'd think, okay, well, they want to be a man or a woman, and like, you know, that's fine. They're not hurting anyone. You know, whatever they do in their head, they would probably agree with that statement. But take something Matt Walsh has said, right? Say, would you agree with the statement transgenderism is a threat to humanity and needs to be eradicated? A small minority of Americans would agree to that statement. A small minority. The same movement is pushing this message, but their messaging now has much less broad appeal. I feel like this isn't a mistake they would have made 5 years ago. If somebody like mrbeast had a trans friend, would the far right have consolidated in denouncing and attacking that friend? Matt Walsh has been tweeting about how Chris is a bad father. I don't feel like they would have made this mistake a while ago. I think they would have correctly recognized, wow, we're going to look like a bunch of over-involved freaks. We're going to look like a bunch of demons if we just, like out of pocket, start attacking this ultra-powerful person who's done literally nothing wrong. Like, that would make us look bad. But now they can't help themselves. They're desperate. That's what they are. They're desperate. They're desperate because they know that for millions and millions of kids now, their first experience with trans people, their first encounter with trans people, will be epic YouTube man mrbeast defending his friend Chris against a bunch of demons and haters online. And that will, at least for a lot of those young people, permanently wall them off from anti-trans politics. So much of reactionary politics is just never encountering or having a sympathetic perspective towards the group that you're being pushed against. You know? I think it reeks of desperation. It's just yet another drop in the bucket, another symptom of Gen Z, or whatever the gen that watches mrbeast is. Maybe it's even younger than Gen Z. I don't even know. Being the death knell of Republican electoral viability. I haven't felt this optimistic in a long time. I mean it. I'm not joking. You guys know that I don't do the fake optimism thing. I will sit here on this channel for months and months, for years at a time, and I'll say, yeah, I think fascism is probably going to take, you know, whatever. But I've been feeling hopeful lately. Sincerely.
I know I'm going to be a great parent, and so is every other person who puts the love of their child before everything. I made this decision because I wanted to show up as my best and happiest self for him. In a way, this was for Tucker. Chris's response received some positivity such as, I'm convinced you're an amazing father. Tucker is lucky to have you and also lucky to have all of those who surround and support you in his life, as well as I adore that, I'm glad you made that decision. It's so much easier to be a parental figure when you're not struggling with dysphoria, yet he'd also receive an equal amount of backlash. You ripped apart your family and took a father figure away from your son just so you could paint your nails and act zesty. Pathetic. He will get torn apart at school, won't want to have friends around his house, a life full of difference and being alone. Must have missed the point in that tweet. How's this for him when you're depriving him of a father figure? Although Chris wasn't altered by these comments, as he'd once again reiterate his certainty in a new post reading, it's never too late to start being yourself, which received praise from mrbeast as well as Nolan and Carl. However, these comments also added extra fuel to the fire.
So again, the drama as framed by this video is people on Twitter saying that Chris couldn't be a good parent because she's transitioning. And this is being framed as like drama, as some kind of like mistake that they're failing to account for.
In a few years, look back at this thread and remember they were never your friends. Only yes men cowards. Hope you come out of this safe. mrbeast
Chris is any all.
responded to this with a simple opinion irrelevant ratio, to which the original commenter would state, I have 30 followers, so go ahead and ratio me. I'll still rest easy knowing that I'm not a coward who idly sits by watching my friend ruin his own life. In some ways, it was nice to see the boys standing up for Chris on Twitter. However, the situation has already begun to change the dynamic within the videos. For example, in a recent livestream titled Opening 1,000 Mystery Art Boxes, Chris would once again dress in quite a feminine way, and while everybody participated as usual, the energy and vibe didn't feel nearly as smooth as it normally does.
This is something that Sunny V2 likes to do as well, which I've noticed in other videos. You can cultivate literally any impression that you want. You can manufacture a narrative by selectively picking which comments to choose. But what he's essentially saying here is, because he's not going to show anything in the video that makes it seem awkward, by the way. There's nothing, this video will not substantiate the idea that awkwardness existed within the videos. A responsible documentarian here, somebody who actually cared about framing this truthfully, would say that Chris received a massive bombardment of far-right anti-trans attention after announcing that she was trans on Twitter. That would be the accurate way to put this forward. The vibes doesn't feel right. That's what he said. Yeah, the vibes don't feel right. You know, the highly substantiated, you know, yeah, this doesn't feel right. It might even be awkward for a different reason. People found it funny. There is no, the idea that there would be a 2-to-1 dislike ratio on a mrbeast video because people were slightly awkward in it is delusional. The only reason there are any dislikes at all, except for the, you know, I don't know, the average like 99-to-1 dislike ratio that every video seems to get now, is of course because people are attacking Chris for being trans. That's it. But the purpose of the Sunny V2 video is to launder that transphobia, to make it seem as though it's not fervent, zealous bigotry, but rather people being legitimately disappointed in something. This imagined idea that Chris can't be a parent anymore, or that being trans makes you cringe or awkward or something. Not actually, you know, it's just a way of laundering the transphobic backlash, which is one of the reasons why mrbeast, you know, spoke negatively of it. Now, speaking of videos that have gotten backlash, this has an even larger dislike to like ratio, and there are a lot of comments here that are attacking Sunny V2, so I guess the Sunny V2 video on this video could then say, one thing that Sunny V2 failed to consider is many people in the comments felt this video was quite awkward.
For example, in a recent livestream titled Opening 1,000 Mystery Art Boxes, Chris would once again dress in quite a feminine way, and while everybody participated as usual, the energy and vibe didn't feel nearly as smooth as it normally does. It felt as though there was an unaddressed elephant in the room, and therefore everybody was in their head, as opposed to being in the present moment enjoying each other's company. Maybe everybody was simply too busy opening packages, but Chris did make these bizarre jokes about Jimmy being female, making him incredibly uncomfortable.
Oh my god, Jimmy, look, they drew you. Jimmy, they drew you so well. It looks just like you.
Oh, yes.
Oh my god, it's Jimmy.
How did fan art? This is what we were looking for. Be brave, be honest, be kind, Mr. Beast.
You ever seen those drama videos on like those drama videos on the who's the lady that they always do the body reaction, the body language reaction videos? The British one, the one the British press hates. Meghan Markle, that's right, Meghan. Yeah. There's like a bunch of videos that you can find on YouTube of like somebody looking at her blink, and then they'll pause and explain for 40 minutes how that blink is evidence that she's like a hen-pecking, controlling demon lady, you know, who's ruining everything and such and such. And what I mean by laundering transphobia is that if it wasn't for the subtitles here, you would never think anything was wrong with this video at all, like at all. So like holds up an image, look, it's you, haha, and then like pause video, black and white grayscale, slow down, dramatic music, you know, desperately trying to change the conversation. You know, you understand what I'm talking about here. It's nothing. It's difficult for me to analyze or break down because it's nothing. It's a desperate attempt by a hack YouTuber to try to launder transphobia and make it seem as though people are reacting to some kind of legitimate problem rather than just attacking Chris for being trans.
That is my tagline.
Becoming even weirder when each member started to pay each other compliments.
Hey, nice shirt. Thanks, dude. Nice shirt.
Hey, nice shirt.
Thanks, dude. Nice shirt.
Thanks. Nice shirt.
Nice shoes.
For the most part, the live stream
Hey man, nice cock. Yeah, cock inspection Sundays
was devoid of awkward moments. However, it would act as fodder for another 100 million views worth of drama and criticism. Chris likely believes that people will slowly adapt to his new appearance over time.
Remember, by drama and criticism, what they mean is transphobia. That's it. That's another way of laundering it. It's like just existing as a trans person is drama. How is this awkward? It's not. There's nothing off here. As mrbeast's #1 fan, I can say with great confidence, there's nothing off here at all. You can create this impression with literally like anything. You could, like, stuff like this was present all during Gamergate. there was the portion of Gamergaters whose job it was to directly harass like small feminist YouTubers, and then there were the hanger-ons who would make videos on the downfall of those feminist YouTubers, in which the downfall would be talking about the negative response they received for their content, the negative response being, of course, the people who are hyper-fixating on them and freaking out and attacking them all the time, which it's like a self-perpetuating industry. If the drama is the transphobia and your drama videos create the transphobia, then the only drama to speak of is the fact that you're making videos.
But is this really going to happen? Well, maybe. It's difficult to say as the situation is fairly unique, especially when considering Chris's reputation and influence. However, if Chris continues to transition, would it be unreasonable to say that he could jeopardize some of the personality traits which made him a successful member in the first place? Perhaps the opposite will happen.
Like, this is so weird. This is so weird. Hey, if you transition, then your brand personality might change. That's such a weird thing to go into in human thinking. Yeah, if people change, would Sunny V2 make a video anytime anyone popular ever changed anything? Like anytime. This isn't even a video on her changing. This is like speculatively, maybe she would change more in the future. Maybe if she transitioned, she'd be different than she is. Okay, drama video.
And he'll instead pick up new personality traits that better resonate with the current MrBeast audience. This was put forward in many comments supportive of Chris, who implied that there'll be millions of queer kids who look up to him, although this doesn't necessarily mean that it'll add any value to the videos.
What? No, literally, like, what does it mean? It doesn't mean anything. What does that mean?
MrBeast has likely cultivated a massive LGBT audience, all of whom are already watching anyway, and if we've learned anything from Hollywood in recent years, it's that adding over-the-top LGBT characters for the sake of relatability rarely works as intended.
She's not a character, she's a person. What? Literally insane. Actually, like, not even demon, like robot thinking here. It's they are literally trying to go woke, go broke, an actual existing human being trans. Like, go woke, like smugly crossing your arms because the child in a celebrity family came out as lesbian. You're like, forced lesbian inclusion in popular celebrity families doesn't often result in good results at the box office. You know, like, actually insane. Genuinely, completely mentally ill. This video was AI generated. True. The funniest thing is that she wasn't added. She was always part of the team. As MrBeast's #1 fan, I knew that. Thank you.
And is often nothing more than a distraction from the premise of the movie or video. On top of this, it can be—
What's you're trans? You're distracting from the video? What does it mean? What does it mean?
Uncomfortable and unrelatable for the silent majority, although as we have seen—
Well, listen to the laundering. Listen to the desperation to launder the transphobia.
Movie or video. On top of this, it can be uncomfortable and unrelatable for the silent majority.
The silent majority. Yes, of course. The swarms of tens of millions of MrBeast fans who are incredibly put off by the nice shirt bit in the recent unboxing video. That's true. Yes, the swarms of Zoomers. Holy shit, the actual silent majority dog whistle. No, like I said, the whole point of the video is just to launder transphobia. This channel does this all the time. It's not actually about covering the drama. Because think about it. If this channel was about covering the drama, why is everything on Chris? Wouldn't they be talking about everyone else freaking out? Like, if you wanted to cover the drama, there's plenty of material for a drama video here. You wouldn't be making up the silent majority being uncomfortable with the nice shirt bit, or, hey, adding a trans character to your YouTube channel is go woke, go broke. You would talk about the legions of far-right people who are freaking out over this for no reason. It's not even subtle.
Although, as we have seen, a situation like Chris's does have the potential to create an otherworldly amount of discussion, which could be seen as a benefit for the MrBeast brand.
Drama is good for growth, 100%. That would be an easy way to up my
So you're a
business if I got
Keemstar?
The problem is, this type of situation is probably the last thing that MrBeast wants to attract, as he's forced to agree with Chris's position, as he has no way of manipulating the situation.
Agree with Chris's position? What position? Forced to what? Like, listen to this making up shit. Forced position? What position? The position of existing? Literally, that is it. The implicit argument here, yeah, being, you know, Mr. Beast has no choice but to acknowledge the existence of his friend. Big drama, you know? This is the height of parasociality, I can't, man. No, this isn't about parasociality. Sunny V2 does not care about Mr. Beast. What this is an attempt to take what is a completely one-sided attack against a trans person and twist it into a group of loyal Mr. Beast fans being disappointed and upset by nebulous hand gesturing Chris being trans. It's just an attempt to launder and legitimize it. The only real argument here that Sunny V2 has, the only thing that they actually believe, is that trans people are degenerate. Sunny V2 might be alt-right or a Nazi. He did do a whole video like defending and humanizing the that one Nazi Joker guy who just goes and Sieg Heils and says the N-word on Omegle or whatever his name was. The one who went to jail. I forget his name. The Gypsy Crusader, yeah. So it's possible he might just be all right. I don't know if he actually is. He could be retarded. I mean, he probably is. He literally cited Sneeko. Known pedophile Sneeko. Gotcha. Yeah, he probably is then. You know, hiding behind drama channels is a pretty common way for like really far right people to try to make their content more appealing. Though now I think in a lot of people's minds, like a lot of people's minds, Sunny V2 will just be known to them as that person who attacked epic YouTube man Mr. Beast's friend. Because again, I really do think this is an overextension.
Without being painted as the bad guy. It's a lose-lose situation for Mr. Beast. I think Jimmy is in an inescapable situation. If he kicks out Chris, cancelled. If he don't, his channel will die for real.
Yeah, kicking out his longtime friend for no reason other than because she transitioned probably actually would lead to a lot of backlash. But apparently, if he doesn't, his channel will die. Mr. Beast's channel will die. This is being presented as like a legitimate comment. Like Sunny V2 is so delusional and so desperate to attack trans people that he's arguing Mr. Beast's channel will die because a trans person will be in the background in some of them or something. For real, no cap.
An inescapable situation is a pretty good way of describing the drama, which is also why it deserves the harsh label of being a
24 likes. Jimmy trying to stay strong, but he actually wants to cry. The narrativizing is so desperate, dude. Literally, like any comment. Look at these totally real fans with their anime avatars.
Nightmare. Jimmy has no option but to publicly express
This one doesn't even have a like count.
Acceptance of Chris's transition, as silence or even worse, disapproval, would come with obvious severe repercussions. However, in accepting Chris's transition, Jimmy implies that this will be the new normal within the content, thus annoying a different—
What? New normal, as in Chris will continue to exist. The framing here is the point here is to make it seem as though Chris transitioning is some kind of deliberate act of degeneracy that is being done to like the detriment of the channel. All of this is just about taking the disgusting, irrational, low IQ hatred of the right and making it seem as though it's fans being upset. But by the way, this is not like new or anything. We see this happen all the time. When it comes to like big properties having something like a black person or a gay person in it, where a bunch of ultra far right people will attack it because it has a black person or a gay person in it, and then there will be these pathetic ass-eating sycophants on the side who will go, look at all these authentic fans of the property who are legitimately disappointed by the changes made. People were really, like, I saw so much of this with Star Wars, where they were really angry that a black person was getting headlining with Finn, and there were a bunch of like Nazis who were like really mad about it. And then there were all those people in the background going like, all these legitimate fans of the Star Wars franchise are disappointed at this woke inclusion that is not being done for any real reason but to be woke. Okay, fine, crack pipe. There we go. You know what I mean? I saw so much of that bullshit. Oh, and another thing that Sunny V2 is trying to do here is a kind of manipulative psychology where he wants Mr. Beast fans to watch this video and come away from it thinking, wow, poor Mr. Beast really has been put in a bad situation by Chris. That's a huge part of this. A huge part, because again, it's the desperation. They desperately want to get all these young people away from like a position of sympathy towards trans people. They want Chris to be like this villain who's selfishly destroying Mr. Beast's very fragile and tentative hold over YouTube stardom.
Different group of people, many of whom will never express their true feelings and may rather
No likes. Mr. Beast gonna end up dropping the views because of... Yep. Totally real.
simply click on fewer Mr. Beast videos. If this is the case, Jimmy has no option but to accept this fate, as removing Chris from the videos in any kind of way could create an even more severe media firestorm. The only clean solution, should things go south, might be for Chris to resign himself, and even then rumors and bad press will be unavoidable. Whether it be arrogance or ignorance, Chris seems oblivious to how this whole thing might impact.
See? Right here. First of all, the idea that Chris needs like permission from Mr. Beast to transition is insane. Second of all, guys, Mr. Beast knew before Chris said it publicly. You really don't think? Aren't they like friends? Mr. Beast knew. Mr. Beast did not find out when Chris tweeted, "Yeah, it's been 2 months since I got an HRT." They knew beforehand. The whole point of this is like desperately trying to get. Yeah. The framing is very telling. I want you guys to read this as it is. First of all, Sunny V2 is a demon, obviously. But second of all, I want you to understand the only thing you should take from this is desperation. Because a few years ago, they would not have been so stupid as to position themselves as anti-Mr. Beast. That is not a direction they would have gone in. Because it's suicide. Why would you position yourself against Mr. Beast like this? That's ludicrous. That's insane. But they're doing it because they cannot afford to have so many young people have a positive first impression of transgender people, of Chris, you know? I want this to be read ultimately as a positive thing. I've seen so many people attacking Sunny V2 over this. And there was another YouTuber who came out with an anti-Chris video. I don't remember the name of that YouTuber. I think that video also got a pretty huge backlash.
Jimmy, forgetting that he achieved his current level of success by avoiding this exact type of drama.
Right. Sunny V2 already doubled down. Well, I mean, yeah, he's not going to back off this. Sunny V2 is committed to, his far-right politics. Michael Knowles' video on Chris to watch after.
There's this guy, Chris.
Yeah, here we go. See, they're all coming down on this. It's desperation, folks. It's desperation. Matt Walsh talked about it. Ben Shapiro talked about it. I like this video length to exactly 10 minutes. Like, they don't even give a shit. He made a second video. Yeah, no, they're desperate. But I'll wrap this up because like it's such an internet drama thing, okay, that you could talk about it forever. But the underlying message here, the really important part, I really think they're overplaying their hand. So many young people look up to Mr. Beast. And Mr. Beast is pretty apolitical. He's obviously not actually apolitical, nobody is. But in terms of the kind of content he produces, he's not like involved in politics the way, political people are. A lot of young people, to the tune of tens of millions, watch his stuff and love it. And I do not think it will look good for the conservative movement for all of these young people to see the discourse online and see Mr. Beast and his friend Chris being normal and happy together, and the far right unifying in this gigantic attack. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize that in the lettering in Michael Knowles' videos, they just said tranny. Normally they say like transgender. I didn't realize that in their header briefs, they had just shortened it to the slur. I didn't even see that for a sec there. But that kind of adds to my argument, right? Like, you have Mr. Beast and Chris acting normal, and then, they see the drama, and they go check out Michael Knowles' video, and there's this creepy lunatic who's, like, attacking Chris over shit you don't even understand, and, like, in the corner, they're, like, slurs, just all, like, this doesn't resonate. because they're not humans. These transphobes, they're not human beings. Chris is a human being. Mr. Beast may or may not be. He might be the Antichrist. I'm not entirely sure, but Chris is probably a human being. They're certainly acting more like human beings than their opposition are. And people see that. And I think it, oh yeah, this is the other
Chris
one.
Tyson,
Oh, is this it? Encouraged why Chris from Mr. Beast became transgender? Oh yeah, how Chris became the
Chris
most hated
Tyson's one of-
Mr. Beast member because of being transgender. Yeah, I saw this. Oh, this isn't even a large channel. This is a small channel. Oh yeah, this is exactly the kind of, yeah. This is exactly the kind of YouTube channel you would expect. Yep, there's Yandere Dev. How John Cena became an undying meme legend. Yeah, okay, it's pretty much what you would expect. Literal Sunny V2 knockoff. They have to hide their politics. That's always been a strength of left advocacy. It's the fact that people on the left can usually just make videos where they straightforwardly talk about their politics. People on the right can't, because leaving aside getting banned off YouTube for terms of service violations, it would also make them look psychotic to like 98% of people, even to people who agree with them. I actually think I see this all the time, especially back when I debated alt-right people more often, where on 4chan, after I debated them, there would be a bunch of people coping and seething, and they would be like, oh, who let this debate Vosh? This, you know, this Spurg, this guy can't debate shit, this guy was a... And then they were just expressing the ideas those people on 4chan believe in. It's the same thing. They can't even bear to look in the mirror. The most they can comprehend of their own political views is like a small facet of it, a stupid, boiled down, euphemism-laden version of it. But the entirety of their political, you know, beliefs, the full reality of it, they can't engage with it. So they get upset when they see it represented, you know, fairly and openly.